Chapter 29. At Tom's word, the dark-haired woman took a step back from the door. "Pardon me?" "Emily, go back into the drawing room, please," Darnell said. "I'll deal with this. Yes, that's right. I think you may be my cousin," Tom continued, ignoring the snub and the person who gave it. His anger fueled with confidence. "My mother was Moira Winthrop." Emily gasped. "Aunt Moira? I went to her funeral many years ago." "Well, I didn't. I wasn't allowed." "Look, what do you want?" Darnell asked, the tetchiness gone and swiftly replaced by an open hostility. "I wish to speak with Mrs. Darnell, please." "Well, my wife doesn't wish to speak with you, Catchlove. She didn't want you in the house all those years ago, and I doubt her perspective has changed." Tom shook his head with both disbelief and amusement. "You really are the most awful people. I'd hope it was just childish memories, but no, you're very inch as ghastly as I recall." "Father, please invite Tom in. If he's my cousin, let us at least hear what he has to say." Emily turned to Tom. "You're surely here for a reason." "I am, and it won't take long. I just need some information." "There you are, Father. Nothing too hard about that. Come in, Tom. I'll fetch my mother. She's hardly busy. She's reading." Reluctantly, Darnell stepped aside. "Well, my daughter seems to want to make you welcome, Catchlove, so you might as well come in briefly and not keep the doorway looking untidy. As I said, Mr. Darnell, bloody awful you're pretty bloody awful folk, apart from your daughter. So I promise not to stay longer than I have to." "Through here, Catchlove. Try not to touch anything." "Steal, you mean?" "That too. You could be down on your luck and here to extort money from us, for all I know." "I could be, yes," Tom said, and he liked how that made Darnell blink. "This is a very nice house you have here, Mr. Darnell. It belongs to my wife." "I thought so. What's that supposed to mean?" Tom didn't have to answer because Emily arrived back with her mother in tow. All the memories crashed back into Tom's mind now, with vivid colour, texture and sound. Elizabeth Darnell might have been 2 decades older, but she hadn't lost her pursed lips' appearance, and as her gaze landed on him, her mouth twisted slightly as though she was tasting something bad. "Tom Catchlove, indeed. I do remember you. You haven't changed much." It was clear they weren't going to invite him to have a seat, so he the Truro where he stood, Emily slightly behind her parents. He gave a wry smile. "I don't know whether to take this as a compliment, Mrs. Darnell." "No, it's not. You look identical to your father." "Do I?" Elizabeth's stare locked Elizabeth's stare locked with his, and it felt like pistols at dawn. She was challenging him, and he wanted to say out loud, "I'm up for it." Instead, he smiled. "Are you talking about Vern Catchlove or my real father?" "Oh, so you know about the other one, do you?" She sniffed. "Well, they were both wastrels." "What does that mean, Mrs. Darnell? I can't imagine you knew either of them well enough to make such a presumption." "Your mother was going to make a good marriage in this city. She could have had any of the eligible bachelors she wanted, but she decided to throw it all away with—" She pulled herself abruptly. "With whom?" Elizabeth shrugged, and it looked theatrical. "I have no idea. All I know is Moira was with child and used goods as far as Adelaide society went. We all offered to help, didn't we, Giles?" Her husband took the cue. "Your mother was a dreamer, lad. That's the kindest thing I can say about her. Seemed it seems tarnishing her married name and threatening his family's reputation wasn't enough. She decided to flee to the back of beyond with a shepherd or drover or some such pheasant." "Can you two hear yourselves?" Emily burst in. "Heavens, I'm frankly disgusted, but barely surprised by your superiority. A guest comes into a house, family no less, and you treat him like a leper." "This man is not our family, Emily dear. Just look at him. He's a mess. He's probably here to ask for money, Giles. Write him a cheque and get him out of here, would you?" Tom held onto his temper and found the calm he was known for, honed over years to be his place of retreat. "No need, Giles," he said, his tone so dry he wanted to cough. "I don't need your cheque. You know, Mrs. Darnell, if only you were civil, I wouldn't have to take you to court for my mother's rightful share of this house." If Adelaide had frozen over in that heartbeat, Tom would have believed it, because the temperature in that room, which only a moment ago had been hot and heated from their scales and barbs, dropped dramatically. He heard Elizabeth inhale with a hiss at his words. "You bloody bastard walking in here," Giles began. "Back off, Giles," Tom snapped. "This is between me and my aunt. I've spoken with Till and Associates." He gave a mirthless smile. "I'm guessing you didn't think I know the family solicitors." "My mother told me all about them. Had impressed upon me to remember that name since I was old enough to listen. I've never forgotten it, and decided to have a chat with them a few days back when I had nothing better to do." "Are you threatening me, young man?" "I could be." Tom said, and saw Emily twitch a swift smile that disappeared as quickly as it arrived. He felt encouraged by her amusement. But I chose not to. I know my mother was left a sizable amount in your father's will because although your mother disapproved of her marriage, your father still insisted that she was to benefit. And I know half of this house is hers. I can prove I'm her son and claim all that belongs to her. The Darnell couple couldn't hide the horror from their expression, while their daughter could no longer fully hide her enjoyment of their discomfort. And will you? Elizabeth demanded. If you cooperate, I shall not press my claim. Cooperate, she repeated with a frown. But Giles leapt at the opportunity to avoid sharing any money. His tone took a conciliatory note. Now listen here, we were perhaps a little hasty. We've had nothing to do with you over the years. Because you chose not to, Giles, Tom reminded. I didn't know I had a pretty cousin, for instance. He threw a smile Emily's way. She was far from pretty in the way that Fleur was, but possessed a sort of wan beauty that really rested in her sharply intelligent eyes. Tom would lay money down that Emily would have been a suffragette if she'd been of age back then, and would likely relish the chance to get away from her parents' overbearing manner. But you deliberately kept her away from me all those years ago. More's the pity, Tom, Emily said. Tell us how we can make amends, she offered. I want to find the man who fathered me, he said. It came out badly, but there was no easy way to make his request. Whatever for, Mrs. Dunner said, her tone critical. Not now, Elizabeth. It's a simple enough request. Giles cautioned. And that's all you want? Oh, Tom? That's all I came for, he confirmed. I want nothing else from you. Would you be prepared to put that in writing? Per father, Emily admonished. Don't be ridiculous. If Tom says that's all he wants, then please do not make him prove anything. Furthermore, don't humiliate me any further in front of him. Forgive us, Tom. You're forgiven, Emily. He left the rest unsaid. Right, well, Elizabeth, do you have, no, I don't. You know I don't. I can't even remember his name, Giles, can you? Giles shook his head forlornly. Bill, or was it Hugh? Tom searched their faces for guile, pleading inwardly for them to remember, but he found no pretense. They genuinely couldn't recall. I met him, Emily declared, and I have a very good memory. What? Her mother swung around. He came to the house to see Aunt Moira, as you well know. I was only about 5 or 6 at the time. Nasty Miss Jackson tried to send him packing on your instructions, Mother, or did you forget that? I have forgotten that, Elizabeth admitted, although Tom said she was lying. I spoke to him for about 2 minutes, Tom, she reiterated defensively, as though she knew he saw through her. Where was my mother, Tom asked. Locked up, Emily said. My grandmother took all her clothes and locked her in her room for days. We weren't living in this house, we were living at College Town, but we were staying here while some building work was being done at our house in Harrow Road. I clearly remember all the screaming and crying, so many arguments through that bedroom door. Grandpa was very upset about it all and never agreed with how Aunt Moira was treated. My memory of it is vivid, Mother. I can't lose recollection of it, but perhaps I can't lose recollection of it, much as perhaps you'd like me to. Really, Emily, do you feel clever stirring all this up? I'm sorry, Tom, Emily said, before addressing her parents. I'm simply giving Tom the truth. This is all water under the bridge. We can't change anything, but he has the right to know. He's trying to find the man who fathered him, for heaven's sakes. I'd want to know if father didn't actually. Right, that's enough, Emily. Elizabeth broke it. I swear it's that university giving you such independent thinking. Emily cut Tom another amused look. Wicked to think for myself, isn't it, Mother? You never get a husband carrying on like that, Elizabeth warned. Now Emily laughed and she became prettier for it, Tom noted. If I decide to marry Mother, I'll choose him when I'm ready. Are you listening to this, Giles? She sounds like Moira all over again. Just a lot older, her father said, and Tom suspected it was an old-time argument that their daughter was still a spinster. Emily wouldn't back down. I did always admire Aunt Moira's spiritedness. She'd live life on her terms, like a beggar, Elizabeth spat. No, she didn't, Tom interrupted. My mother lived a hard life. There's no denying that, but I shared it with her, and I have to say it was a happy one. She loved the man who raised me, and he loved her with every ounce of himself. He would have given her the world if he could. Except he couldn't. He was poor, Elizabeth scoffed. He was an overseer on our property, and to be honest, I think Vernon would say he had everything he needed, all the space in the world, all the peace in the world, and all the most beautiful woman in bed. Both Daniels gasped as he had hoped they would, and Emily chuckled quietly. Tom continued, being poor isn't a crime. He stole her life, Elizabeth bleated. I doubt it. I think her family stole it. She wasn't allowed to be with the man she wanted to marry, her first love, and so, as I understand it, when the opportunity arose again to be with someone she genuinely liked, she took it, and she was pregnant after all, and her chances to raise her child in a family environment would have been slim at best. I'm sure you offered her a way out of having me. Elizabeth didn't confirm his suspicion, but had the grace to look back at him sheepishly. We only wanted what was best for her, what she deserved. Your mother was the most beautiful and gifted person. There wasn't anything she couldn't do if she turned her mind to it, whether it was music or sport or art. She was educated and she was fun, and she gave it all away for nothing. Tom gave a small laugh, refused to feel insulted. She gave it up for me, Mrs. Darnell. My mother never let a day go by without making sure I understood how loved I was, and I felt the same way about her, which is why it is so cruel to deny me the final farewell to her and my sister. Elizabeth looked down and her lips pinched. That was all a long time ago, Tom, he nodded, and I've been stewing on it for all that time. What you may not know is that my mother left me very well set up. The Darnell family frowned as one. The solicitor told me that she established a trust for me when I came of age, and my grandfather, the same one who felt badly about how his daughter was treated, regularly put money into that trust for me. I know now why my mother impressed upon me to never forget the name of the law firm. She didn't tell me why, but she knew my curiosity would get the better of me at some stage, as it did. Giles and Elizabeth shared shocked glances. My father never spoke a word of this, she snapped. Tom shrugged. I can only presume he didn't wish you to know, or indeed anyone except my mother, and she didn't touch it according to the solicitor. It has quietly amassed over the years and earned interest, so you could say that I'm now an independent, wealthy man too. I, Giles looked stunned. How much money are we talking about? The laughter as it came felt good to Tom. Now you're an educated man, Giles, and you know that's a rude question. Even this country bumpkin wouldn't ask such a thing. Just know I don't need or want your money, but I will demand my share if I don't get what I do want, which is simply the name of my father. I think my mother needs the smelling salt, Emily said to her father, nodding towards her mother, who was tottering to the wall to steady herself. They both helped Elizabeth into a nearby chair. Come with me, Tom. Where are you going? Giles demanded. I'm seeing Tom out, Emily said, squeezing Tom's arm to prevent him from saying any more. You tend to mother. She led Tom to the front door and opened. I think you're marvellous, and I'm so happy to be your cousin. Can you wait here a moment? I don't think you need to spend another second around that appalling rudeness. Tom grinned. I'll be by the gate. Back in a tick, she promised. Emily emerged from the house a few minutes later, holding out a small white calling card. Here, Tom. I can't say whether this is still current in terms of an address, but I doubt his name has changed, she said. He took it and read the name, William Johnstone. He looked back at Emily, eyes shining. My father, the man who wanted to marry Aunt Moira and presumably fathered you. But I think you said your real father was Vern Catchlove, and that I hope won't change unless he wasn't good to you. He's the only father I've known. She nodded, tapping the card. This man came looking for Moira. I happened to answer the door even though I wasn't meant to. She gave a sound of frustration, but I was always doing things I wasn't meant to, and he gave me this card to give my aunt or someone who might get it to her. But your mother had been moved to another of the houses. Of course, they soon came up behind me and sent him packing before I could tell them about the card. And then I decided I wouldn't because they'd been so mean to Aunt Moira, and this nice gentleman of hers never gave him a chance and told my mother never wanted to see him again. Did they tell him she was going to have a baby? No, I eavesdropped on the brief but wretched conversation. It was rude and terse, as you can imagine. Do you remember much about him? Well, from a child's perspective, I can recall him as tall and extremely good looking, with lovely teeth and a bright smile that reached all the way to his eyes. One of those smiles that made the leap to me and made me want to smile back. His hair was like yours, thick and blonde, but slicked down with hair oil and a very neat parting. He was dressed in a suit and his shoes were polished. She gave a tight smile. I can't give you much insight into him because I barely had more than a minute or so in his presence, and then I'll shoot away. But he had a nice voice, not dissimilar to yours, and he was polite to my mother, even though she was rude and dismissive towards him, as she always is. And they never knew you had this. She shook her head. I've kept it for years in an old trinket box, and frankly have forgotten about it until you came in today. I remember you at the window when I was here as a child. Emily smiled. You and that little girl, I envied you. At Tom's frown, she continued. You were both laughing at the things you were talking about, and I wanted to be like that, to be with you both. But I wasn't allowed to meet you, even though I was your cousin, especially because you were my cousin. They want absolutely nothing to do with poor Moira and her bastard child. But Grandpa insisted and caused a huge stink until they agreed that they bring your mother's body back to be buried in Adelaide. Grandma refused to have her in the family plot, but her a special, but Grandpa bought her a special place at the Cheltenham Cemetery, where another one of our wayward family members is buried, Uncle Albert. I don't know his misdemeanor, but we're not even allowed to mention him, she giggled. Thank you for this, Emily, he said, and stepped forward to kiss her cheek. She touched her face, flushing. You're welcome, Tom. It was worth holding on to it for all this time, because he brought you here. I don't know how much help it might be. It doesn't say what he does for a living, but hopefully that address is a start. I hope we'll see each other again. I'm sorry for the circumstance and for my parents' appalling behaviour, but you weren't their softest spot. Well done. Money and status are everything to the Darnells. I wish I was a Wintro, to be honest, because Grandpa was wealthy but generous and a real sweetie. You'd have liked him. Well, I plan to get to know his granddaughter from here on. Emily hugged him. Oh, this is going to really make my parents' day. You know, they'll be watching from the shadows. He grinned, then turned to leave. And Tom, he turned back, if you're happy in your present, maybe don't go digging into the past. Emily shrugged. Just a thought, she said with a bright smile as she closed the iron gate between them. Take me out of the jail soon. All right, you better. His grin was his promise, and as he walked away, he realized how novel the feeling of the happiness was. Since leaving the Alberton Hotel and meeting his cousin, he'd known only a dark mood. As he's made plans to return north, Tom had telephoned the wool store to explain he was going home, using the excuse that life in the big smoke did not suit him. I miss the big space and the peace, he said to his boss. Can you let Charlie know? I'll drop him a note. Sorry I didn't get to say goodbye. You all right, lad? Heard you took a hiding from a jealous fella, something like that. I've had worse, he lied. Or was he lying? No, he could admit to himself. He was far more broken from the wounds of Fleur's letter than anything Jimmy's pistol could do to him. He said none of this, of course. I'll be fine, Mr. Chapman. Sorry it didn't work out, Catch Love. I liked your style, but I especially like your speed. Easy to tell you've come from my shearing shed. And where I probably belong, Tom said in a rueful tone, not wanting to believe it. Bye, Mr. Chapman. Tom put the phone down in the hotel. Down in the hallway of the hotel. Sorry. Tom put the phone down in the hallway of the hotel, called the 7 Stars that he was staying in. He could hear the drone of men from the front bar, punctuated by bursts of laughter or roars of ridicule and the clash and clatter of glass glasses. A man lurched out through the swing doors into the hallway and turned towards him, looking confused. He was intoxicated but not yet fully drunk, with the presence of mind to smooth his clothes and his hair. Mate, he said in greeting. Tom nodded in response. I think you want that direction, he said, gesturing towards the doors that led out into Angus Street. Lost my girl today, the man groaned. Tom felt his insides flips, but he didn't let his expression betray the feeling of brotherhood. Sorry to hear that. Her friend told me lies about her, the man said, his gaze swimming slightly as he moved towards Tom. And you believed her? His companion held up a forefinger and waggled it before Tom. She's a cunning one, that one. Very, that are small, but very convincing. Tom nodded. Girls can be cunning. Yes, the man hissed. She lied. Tommy Sarah, that's my love. Fancied another. Always had, but that I was a good catch, and Sarah thought I'd make a good husband, good father. Tom smiled gently. Didn't you ask Sarah? He shook his head. I accused her. We were out. Too late now. She doesn't want anything more to do with me. Try again, don't give up. Says she can't forgive me for believing lies before giving her the chance to deny them. Why did her friend do such a thing, Tom asked. A man shrugged dramatically. I don't know. He belched again. Jealousy, mischief, or just not right in the head. All I know is I love Sarah. Tom grinned and then put his arm around the bloke, leading him to the door. Go and tell her, and then prove it every day of your life. Women, from what I know, respond to honesty, especially if you share your feelings, what you feel in here. Tom said, tapping the man's chest over his heart. Can you get home all right? The man gave a crooked smile, nodded like a child. I'll walk it off, and then I'll go and sing inside her home. And shall I tell her how much I love her? Tom laughed. Now, sleep it off first, mate. You don't want the neighbours pelting you with rotten fruit. Don't let her get away, though, over a misunderstanding. His new friend braved a laugh. Bye, mate. Tom watched the man walk away, swaying slightly but not unsteady. Tom sighed, wishing his situation was just a misunderstanding, a lie that could be refuted and the damage repaired. But Fleur had made it clear he was not going to contact her, and he had been raised to respect a person's wishes. Time to go. Then back to Wichelina. She really did not want him, but maybe they would, and he could accept his life as a wool classer. He'd also need to accept that his future days would hold private yearning for something he'd always wanted and now would never have. He glanced at his watch. Yes, enough time to gather up his few belongings and head back to Adelaide Central Railway Station, which had promised so much when he'd arrived, full of wonder and the lightness of leaving behind a heavy load, except the burden of last love felt somehow heavier than the grief, finding Fleur discovering a door opening into so much potential with her, and knowing that she shared the same affection, had been like entering a new world, and now that world was shunning him, pointing him back to the familiar world he had come from, though it offered none of the spark and promise he'd glimpsed in Fleur's arm. It was a safer world. He knew how to live it, and although his heart wouldn't heal, it was reassuring to him in a way that now it would never break again. He'd leave one half in Adelaide on a moonlit jetty with the sound of the shoreline where waves surged and receded, mingling with the sound of women's laughter, while the other half would seek comfort in the outback's isolation and peace. Thanks for listening.